DeAndra, thank you so much for making time for our discussion. I know that you are traveling and very busy, but really appreciate your being here to talk a little bit about your career and your practice and letting us get to know you a little bit better. So my first question, can you tell us a little bit about what drew you to the field of dispute resolution, your path for getting where you are today?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. So glad to be here. So my path is a little interesting. As you noted from my resume, I come via the railroad industry. So I worked in the labor relations department. And as a manager of the dispute resolution process under the RLA, Railroad Labor Act, I wanted to learn a little bit more about what I would be doing. And so I sat in initially on some arbitrations, and there was one particular arbitration that was of interest to me. So there was an African-American gentleman who was in his arbitration, and we had the arbitrator, we had, the management advocate, the employee advocate, and everyone spoke initially, gave their openings, and then the arbitrator turned to the gentleman and said, do you have anything to add or say before we actually get started or continue the proceedings? And he said, yes. He said that he looks across from him. He says he sees a gentleman that is white, that is saying a lot of bad things about him, that doesn't know him and his career there. He says he has his advocate next to him, his union rep. He says, who is also white. He says that he believes is there to help him. And he says that he looks at the arbitrator who will be sitting in judgment of him. And he said he couldn't help but believe that he would not be able to get a fair process in the hearing today. So that is when I realized that I wanted to become an arbitrator. I said, there needs to be more visibility and fairness in this particular process, or the perception that this gentleman had that this wasn't a fair process because no one looked like him. So that's how I started. And I kind of sought out different programs, and there were several diversity programs that I was able to avail myself of. One was the AAA Higginbotham Fellow Program, which was an absolutely wonderful, phenomenal program that really kind of catapulted me into this profession. And a current program I'm in is with the National Academy of Arbitrators, their Salon program, where they actually have a lot of their veteran arbitrators mentor newer arbitrators. And so that's kind of the path I took, and here I am.
Great, thank you. So you've worked as a labor relations professional at Amtrak, where you manage labor relations cases and the arbitration process for collectively bargained employees who are taking almost 90% of the company. And I see that you also designed a mediation program for the non-union management workforce. Can you describe or share how the skills and knowledge that you gained in those positions help equip you for the arbitrations and mediations that you now do?
Absolutely. So in my roles there, they were absolutely phenomenal in helping me to develop subject matter expertise that has really served me well in what I do. And a lot of that expertise included project management, in addition to just basically understanding how these processes work, in addition to understanding the subject matter. So I think that they served me well by allowing me to really immerse myself into those particular processes.
I could well understand that. So we're talking about mediation and arbitration, and of course you're conducting both processes, and they're very different. What do you like best about being an arbitrator? And then I'm going to follow that up with the question, what do you like best about being a mediator?
Those are very good questions. So I think what I like best about being an arbitrator is the finality that it offers the parties to be able to get resolution. And I think that finality is important.
And mediation, because we know that mediation only becomes final if the parties agree.
Absolutely. So so the flip side of that is, for mediation, is the ability to actually get in there and work with the parties to empower them to make their own decisions, which a lot of times is more long-serving than anything that anyone could impose upon them. So just being able to help them and empower them to make their own decisions and be creative in those resolutions as well. So, and the ability to develop trust with the parties to allow me to help them to reach those decisions.
Great. So I know that everybody sort of brings their self, their particular personality, their particular style into these different roles as arbitrator and mediator. What would you say is your distinguishing feature as an arbitrator? And then the same question, what would you say is your distinguishing feature as a mediator?
I would say my distinguishing feature as an arbitrator is to be able to roll my sleeves up and quickly grasp and understand the actual issues at play. And you're able to do that. It allows you to be more efficient and run a more efficient and effective process, which the parties appreciate. And a more effective and efficient process allows the parties to conserve money and time, which is also very important to them, and follow it up with a timely, well-reasoned award, which is always very appreciated in that space.
Great. And as a mediator?
Never given up. I think
Yeah.
that is absolutely what I do. If I see any inkling that the parties can come together, I am just like pit bull on it. I will not give up. I will not let the parties give up on themselves or the process. So just having a sincere empathy towards the parties to be able to develop that trust and really help them to reach some type of resolution to their issue is what really distinguishes me and seems to be very appreciated by parties.
Sort of Energizer Bunny
Absolutely.
meets very tenacious personality. Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you have a particular dispute resolution philosophy that you think maybe potential clients should know about?
Yes, I actually do. That philosophy centers around communications and positive communications. So my basic philosophy is let's hear each other and understand each other and listen. So communications are very important, and that's where actually conflicts start, when there's a breakdown in communication. So let's work on the communication, and then we will take care of the conflict.
Okay, great. Communication first, and then everything else
Communication
flows.
first. Absolutely.
So I noticed from your bio that you serve as a judge in student arbitration and mediation competitions. And I'm curious, what draws you to those activities?
Okay, I absolutely love that because it allows me to be able to assist and guide the next generation ADR professionals and give back. I didn't get to where I am by myself. There was a lot of people who really took a lot of time to really give to me, to assist me, to give me the feedback that I needed to be on this path. And I love those competitions because not only are the students super bright these days, but it's allowing to be able to have that real world advice from a real practitioner that can actually assist them, and also realizing I was there. So being able to talk to them from their perspective and being able to relate. So I really do like those competitions, and I really do like to give back.
So it sounds like it's a way for you to sort of mentor the next generation, and that you find that satisfying.
Yes, I think it's very rewarding.
Great. All right. And my last question, because it's not always rosy, right? What has been your biggest challenge as a diverse neutral in this ADR space?
Oh, that's an absolutely excellent question, Ellen. The biggest challenge has been for decision makers to not be willing to venture outside of their comfort zone of someone that looks like them, that makes them feel comfortable when there are so many talented, excellent, highly qualified, diverse neutrals, and expanding the scope and definition of diverse neutral. Diverse neutral doesn't always mean the Title VII purviews and bases of sex, race, religion, things like that. It means also diversity of perspective, insight, and thought. And when you seek those things out, you have a richer environment. You receive a far more effective dispute resolution process. And it's also lends so much more validity to the profession itself and the people that are a part of the profession or coming into the profession by way of dispute or practitioner. So I think being able to lean in more by leaning out and getting outside of your comfort zone and wanting to explore working with some of those wonderful and super diverse neutrals or highly qualified neutrals that happen to be diverse. So.
Well, thank you so much for that thoughtful answer and all of your answers. I feel like I certainly have a better sense of who you are as an arbitrator and a mediator, and I hope everybody listening and watching has the same reaction. So again, thank
so
you
much.
and have a great rest of your day.
Oh, wonderful. You too. Thank you.